All right, so our next artwork, it's this one right there. You see it? Let's scroll this way. Titian's Pesaro Madonna. It's also at Santa Maria Gloriosa de Ferrari. And after he had painted the main altar and became the premier painter of the Venetian Renaissance, or of Venice at that time, he was quickly commissioned by the Pesaro family to make a private family altarpiece in the church. So it's referred to as the Pesaro Madonna because it's the Virgin Mary Madonna, and it's for the Pesaro family. Now we see the Virgin Mary, baby Jesus, and they are sitting enthroned in what we assume to be heaven. Up, white beard, blue, yellow, keys. Ah, that's St. Peter. Hey, St. Peter. And he's looking through his book, his ledger. You know what that ledger is? It's the book that says everybody who's allowed to go into heaven. And he's looking at his book, and he's looking down at that guy. He's like, I don't know if you belong here. Who's the guy? This man here? Jacopo Pesaro. And he's pleading his case. And we have another monk, or sorry, saint here. This is characterized by his brown wool tunic and his rope belt. That's St. Francis. And St. Francis is here talking to baby Jesus, and he's showing him the rest of the Pesaro men. Ah, gesture. So important, isn't it? Now, hovering above in this blue-gray cloud, we see two angels bringing the crucifixion. That is really there to form a unity of sacrifice. We have that hovering sacrifice of Christ and baby Jesus, who will be the sacrifice. And it also connects to Jacopo and the sacrifices of Jacopo. We'll look at him a little bit closer. But first, I want you to understand the size of this. Hey, do you guys recognize that guy? Hey, it's Bob. Hey, Bob. Nice to see you. So we have Bob standing in front of the altarpiece at Santa Maria Gloriosa de Ferrari. And immediately you should see and appreciate the attention to light and color. And that's so Venetian, right? So what's happening here? Well, we see Peter looking through the books, looking down at Jacopo. And the Virgin Mary seems to be listening. Her little kid, baby Jesus, he is just this adorable, fat, little baby, little chunky guy, and he is not paying any attention to that. Instead, he's playing with his mom's veil, and he's being called to pay attention to the rest of the Pesaro family by St. Francis. Now, we could consider this a sacra conversazione because we have two saints who did not know each other, were not in the same location. We have the Virgin Mary, baby Jesus, and this is a conversation between us, the Pesaro family. We're the ones that would be standing here in front of this altar. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about Jacopo. Jacopo was a soldier. He was a soldier who fought for the Venetians in the Venetian-Turkish wars, and he led the papal fleets. So he led the papal boats on this venture to battle with the Turks, with the Ottoman Turks. And it's that series of battles for territory here that he was fighting in. Jacopo is standing here, and he's brought with him some help. This young man, the beard and the plated armor, he's holding this flag. This is St. George. St. George, Miss Cortez? Like Donatello's young St. George? Yeah, same guy. Saint, soldier, ancient Roman Empire, killed for being a Christian. And yes, he's the patron saint of armor and swords and stuff like that, but he's also the patron saint of soldiers. So Jacopo's a soldier, and he gets St. George to vouch for him to Peter and Mary and Jesus. To add to that, George is holding this red flag. The red flag is carrying on it the papal crest, because Jacopo didn't just carry any fleet to fight. He was part of the Pope's fleet. So when we think about Jacopo here, he's very obviously reminding, I know I did a lot of bad. I know I did a lot of bad stuff, murdered a lot of people, but it was in the name of Jesus and Christian empires. It wasn't just for glory. It wasn't just for ego or money. Remember, I fought for the Pope, and here's George, and he's going to vouch for me. So he's bringing a lot. He's even bringing with him prisoners of war. What? You see, there's two men back here. This man here, he's wearing a very distinctive turban. It's the turban of the Ottoman Turks. So to have Jacopo with George and the flag and this man very directly aligns Jacopo with his activity as a soldier. He's bringing with him a prisoner of war. The other man, you can barely see, but historians have interpreted that man to be an African man. Now, you might think, Ms. Cortez, we haven't really talked about Africa since we looked at the Islamic world. That's it. Because the Ottoman Turks are a Muslim empire, and they expand across and down, or I should do it this way. They expand across and down Jerusalem and into Africa. So for Jacopo to bring with him this Muslim Turkish man and assume a Muslim African man, obviously too, there are tons of people of different color and different races and different cultures and different languages living in Venice, and the Venetians have lots of contacts along the African coast, so this wouldn't have been an unusual figure to see in a painting. But for Jacopo, it's to say, I should be let into heaven because I've done all this for you, Mary and Jesus and God. I'm sorry, it skipped a little bit there. Oh, wow. Look at that view. Now, from this view, it puts a different emphasis on the altarpiece. What we're looking at now is really this interaction. Baby Jesus being directed by St. Francis to look down at these men. Who are they? They're the Pesaro family. More specifically, the Pesaro men. The Pesaro family were bankers in Florence. They, not bankers, sorry, merchants in Florence. And they wanted to establish themselves within this higher nobility of ranking in Florence. And so they've put the patriarchs of the Pesaro family. Miss Cortez, what about the women? You don't count. Women don't count. We're property. We make babies, preferably lots of boy babies, like this little guy here. Who's that guy? This little guy here, he's assumed to be one of the young Pesaro men. And he's our gesture. He's our line of sight. He's the one that's inviting us into the space. Why, Miss Cortez? Well, he still has that innocence about him. While the others are more in reverence, right? Everybody's like, ooh, wow, we're here in this moment. He's younger. He's aware of us. And making that eye contact with us kind of pulls us in. Just like Leonardo and the Madonna of the Rocks. Remember the angel was kind of pulling us in and leading us through? That's what this guy's doing. The young man is pulling us in and then leading us through. Okay, what about characteristics of the Renaissance? Do you see linear perspective? Oh, wait, like we're in class. Ah, you do. Okay, where do you see it? I see it right there in the throne and on the floor. Ah, good job. Yes, it's right here. And you can see how these stairs kind of go off on two vanishing points. A little bit up here, a little bit there. Titian's acting a lot like Bellini, isn't he? He's given us a little bit of linear perspective and a little bit of atmospheric perspective and grand architecture, just like Bellini did in the San Zaccaria altarpiece. But doesn't that make sense? Titian is now, or was, a student of Giorgione and then to Bellini. So here he is absorbing some of those elements that Bellini had. Linear perspective. Okay. Atmospheric perspective. Yes. Chiaroscuro. Yes. Color and light. All right, we see the light. We'll talk more about the light and the color in detail with our next artwork, but notice how these two columns, these heavy lines, they're not in linear perspective. They're not there to bring us back. Instead, they're establishing this firm placement of Peter and Mary, almost like fortifying their place here as the authority for Jacopo as he prays in front of them. So they're not acting very linear perspective-ish. Where are we getting our balance? Is it balance of those two columns? Okay, sure. Look at the red. We got a red flag and that bright red of the Virgin Mary. We're seeing here our balance of color and the composition. I'm going to bring it up with a better example of Titian in our next video, but I just want you just to appreciate the glory of this altarpiece. Now, you know I love video games, and you can jump around Santa Maria Gloriosa de Ferrari when you visit Venice in Assassin's Creed 2. Now, I haven't played this, but my husband did, and I made him jump all over the beams, and I need more screenshots of this. Please, okay? Can you do that for me? Thank you.